Every hero needs a villain, but what makes a good villain? I don't have the answer, but all I know is that the villains in this video are the most memorable, reprehensible, and downright evil characters ever. Starting with Gus Fring from Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul. I don't need to say anything about him. He is perhaps the most calm and collected villain in fiction. He has no empathy towards anyone across Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul, and very often uses people as no more than chess pieces to achieve his life goal of revenge. The only person he actually had feelings for was Max, and it shows how even when he does have feelings, he tries to repress them because they will hold him back from his plan. Despite having an ambiguous background, he has a lot of depth and very often comes off as sympathetic, for lack of a better word. Next is Thanos from the MCU. I'm not the biggest fan of the MCU for obvious reasons, but Thanos is statistically the most evil villain ever, as he has killed half of the entire universe, but his motivations are understandable as he's doing what he's doing for a supposed good cause, and once he's done with killing half of the universe, he just retires, showing that he didn't have evil intent, he simply did it for a good cause. He is not evil, but rather misguided. Next up is Saul Goodman from Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul. He is a subtler villain. He doesn't directly kill or harm anyone, but his intentions clearly indicate that all he cares about is money and power, as he has spent his entire life with neither. Throughout the latter half of Better Call Saul, he always seems to prove Lalo's motto right, just make money. He will do anything to get more money, and gets off of conning and harming people as a coping mechanism for the multiple people he has indirectly killed in his life. Next is John Doe from Seven. He's a selfish person who thinks whatever worldview he has is objectively correct and thinking the ends justify the means. He is fully aware of the actions that he does across the movie and thinks whatever he does is for the greater good. He is the perfect representation of hypocrisy. He kills people because they are sinners, but he is just as guilty of sinning as them. John Doe genuinely believes he has been given a divine mission by God to rid this world of sin. He thinks he is sending a message by brutally punishing people. The way he goes about sending a message is very impressive in a twisted way, as he has gone the extra mile to ensure every contingency is taken care of. Next up is Lalo Salamanca from Better Call Saul. He is very charismatic and uses that to his advantage. However charismatic he may be, there is also a hidden factor of evil deep inside him. You can tell that the charisma displayed within Lalo is a facade. He might as well be the most dangerous villain in the Breaking Bad verse, as very often in the story do you see people such as Gus and Jimmy being scared of their life because Lalo could be one wrong move away from killing someone. Every kill he carries out in the story has a reason. He doesn't kill people because he has issues. He simply does it because they are in the way. He sees people as inconveniences and takes their life merely because he doesn't care. Moving on to Patrick Bateman from American Psycho. Memes aside, Patrick is the embodiment of consumerism. Patrick Bateman is the very definition of a wolf in sheep's clothing. He is not a fictional character. Rather, he is a satirical version of someone who probably exists on Earth as we speak. A monster like Patrick Bateman could be sitting next to you right now and you will never know it. Once you do, it would be too late. On the surface, he has everything you could ask for, a fit body, a lot of money and resources, a large amount of sociable friends, a lavish lifestyle, and so on. This is all a facade, however, crafted carefully by Patrick Bateman just to fit in. The only emotions he feels are greed and disgust. His obsession over sex, violence, or being superior to others is the main culprit that allows him to kill in cold blood, whether that may be the homeless man, Paul Allen, or otherwise. He is so obsessed over being better than everyone that he has a nervous breakdown over basically nothing, simply because someone is better than him. However, we never know whether his killings were real or simply a delusion, which may perhaps bring him down a few pegs. Moving on to Walter White from Breaking Bad. He goes from sympathetic cancer patient to ruthless drug lord. But the transition is so slow and methodical that the writers make it look like he isn't the villain of his own story. It's very surreal to see a man kill 10 people Godfather style when less than a year ago, he was a mediocre family man. The switch between a scared man trying his best to earn a living selling drugs to a ruthless prideful asshole who will manipulate anyone as long as it means more control is obvious when watching Walt's juxtaposition of mannerisms across the seasons. He has an ego problem, and he will do anything to keep inflating that ego, whether that may be causing multiple deaths, subtly telling Hank that the real Heisenberg is still out there, or otherwise. He destroys the life of everyone around him, which proves to be Heisenberg's most enduring legacy. The acting by Bryan Cranston here is some of the best I've ever seen in my life. Now on to the Joker from The Dark Knight. While I do think that the 2019 Joker was a better and more sympathetic character, I believe the Dark Knight iteration was a better villain. The Joker definitely has mental issues, and his goal of tearing down society simply because he's fed up with it is very evil. He is pure insanity and thrives off of dangerous situations. He kills a large amount of people, whether justifiable or not, and has a decent point to prove in that everyone is secretly evil deep inside, but the stuff he does is just inexcusable. He says he is a man without a plan, but that couldn't be further from the truth. He has everything planned out. The outcome of these plans, however, is always chaotic and unplanned. He is an anarchist who lives off of the Batman. As the Joker said, "You complete me." There would be no Joker without a Batman. The Joker wants to create a Wild West, where anyone can do whatever they want. He also wants to have as much fun doing it as possible, which adds to the chaos displayed by him. I also want to add that the acting displayed from Heath Ledger as the Joker is phenomenal. Moving on to Anton Chigurh from No Country for Old Men. Anton Chigurh is a cold psychopath through and through. Despite killing people with no remorse, he never raises his voice or shows any feelings throughout the movie other than rage. He is not in it for the money, nor the thrill. He simply does it because he feels like that is the fate his victims should face. The coin is the ultimate representation of this, with the difference between getting killed and surviving is pure chance. In a twisted way, Anton thinks he's doing the right thing, and every single move he does is necessary to achieve his purpose. He is pragmatic and logical in his own twisted way. I'd like to think that he's a man of principle and loyalty, no matter how warped that statement would be. The acting done by Javier Bardem in this movie is masterful, and totally shows the nuances within the life of a man who kills just to kill. Now, on to the final villain, Hans Landa from Inglourious Bastard. Hans Landa is not a classic villain. Instead, he is a regular person doing his job. A job that involves killing people because an order was given to carry it out. Hans Landa is a man that many people who are still alive to this day had the misfortune of meeting, a ruthless Nazi. Hans' mannerisms truly sell his evil to the viewer. He is well-mannered, but he very often has something to hide and shows a very subtle ruthlessness, whether that may be eyeing La Petite's daughter for a second too long, or heavily implying that if La Petite doesn't do as he is told, his daughters will be harassed by the Nazis. Every move he makes is intentional, with the primary purpose of which being getting a leg up on the person he is talking to, such as switching to English when talking to La Petite, which allows him to deliver what might be the most terrifying stare in any movie I have ever watched.